The ACC is getting into this corporate takeover business in college sports when it comes to conference realignment. And we really need to stop pussyfooting around. I'm not even sure I can say that. If I'm not, bleep it out in post. How we talk about this. Because it's not college sports. This is entirely about football. No other sport is a consideration. I'm not even saying it should be. All sports should be a consideration for the people who make these decisions. But the only reason we make these decisions is because of money. There is no other decision. None. This isn't really conference realignment. These are corporate takeovers. This is hoarding. This is the banking industry. That's what we're dealing with. And it's all for football, and it's all for dollars. Because no one in a suit has given one damn thought to how this actually impacts negatively the other sports. None of which. Brett McMurphy from the Action Network put out a chart. Arizona State now is in the Big 12 after one more year in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 dies. Arizona State's in the Big 12. They were in the Pac-12, and look, the Pac-12 goes from Arizona all the way up to Washington, all up and down the West Coast. Yeah, it does. Just like the ACC goes from Miami to Boston, or Syracuse, which I think is a little further north. I get all of it. Geography, right? Whatever. But he put out a chart saying, well, look, Arizona State isn't going to fly that much more. Yeah, man, that's just football. Because the reality is that football, they basically charter everywhere. So when the game is over, they just get to the airport when the game is over, and they get on their plane and they fly back. All the other sports, basketball does too, but basically all the other sports, they're flying commercial. So it's not just 3 hours and 41 minutes from Phoenix to Seattle or whatever the flight is. It's Phoenix to Tulsa to Orlando to get to Central Florida. And when is your connecting flight? We ought to stop apologizing for corporate greed, and that's all this is. Like, I don't know that I'd be better with it, but at least if somebody was honest about it, I think we could all go, all right, well, that's what it's about. But they hide behind the college experience, and this is what's best for... No, it ain't best for anybody, including the football players, by the way, but they stopped caring about the well-being and health of the athletes a long time ago. That's why we play 12 regular season games. That's why we play 12 plus a conference championship. That's why we're expanding the playoffs. We ain't doing it for any reason other than cash. That's it. Yes, some fans love it. Most fans love more games. I get that. And I am not even going to pretend that this is going to damage the sport of college football one bit. If anything, it will make the sport more popular and more of a cash cow. All at the expense of the players. All of it. So the ACC is thinking about adding Stanford, Cal, and SMU. Eric McLean of the ACC Network, friend of this program, on at least the first two parts of that, the West Coast part of that.
Quite honestly, Cal and Stanford for me does not move a needle. Even if the ACC is to do that, or if they to pursue that further, I don't see how that makes you better. I don't see branding-wise how that's exciting. I mean, that's two bad football programs right now, and quite frankly, the last handful of years, Cal longer than the last couple of years. So when you see that, I just don't know how that helps you, and it adds enormous expense trying to go across the country and. Not just the football thing. I mean, volleyball's playing, lacrosse is playing, softball, all these different things where, man, your expenses just skyrocket.
So that's Eric McLean of the ACC Network. So this is what you get from the people who think that this is just okay or who are really into it. Well, so should the ACC just die? I'm like, A, the ACC is not dying, and I'll explain why in a second. And B, if the ACC is dying, Cal and Stanford and SMU ain't going to save it. Show me where they are the impact of Notre Dame. The only way Notre Dame joins the ACC is if, financially and competitively speaking, that's their only option. That's it. They're going to stay independent, right or wrong, unless they cannot deal with the financial disparity. If there's not enough money from NBC, that's the only way they will show up in the ACC. I mean, unless the sport decides that everybody in the playoff has to be in a conference, has to be playing in a conference within their own new system. That is what next for college sports is that they will break up. They will break away from the NCAA. Football. Shouldn't say college sports. Again, it's 100% about football. It's about no other sport. So here's my dream wish for the ACC. Oh, real quick, North Carolina's non-conference basketball schedule is out, and I think it's important to point out that UNC will play Radford on November 6th. November 12th, it'll be Lehigh, and November 17th, they will play Cal Riverside, which I think might be a conference game in future years. I think the ACC will probably add Cal Riverside down the road. Maybe Boise, but here's my wish for the ACC. Let's expand. Forget about the West Coast. We got to think bigger. St. Andrews, the university in Scotland, where the home of golf. Let's add that. Think about how easy it will be to recruit European golfers. You get to play matches at St. Andrews. We're going to go there. We're going to go to the Sorbonne in Paris. Man, what a beautiful road trip that would be. University of Copenhagen. Let's do it. And then, a little closer to home, Hawaii. What's stopping us? Add Hawaii. The College of the Florida Keys. Man, it's beautiful. The Keys are great. And Hogwarts. Let's add Hogwarts too. That'll be magical. This whole thing is gross. I'm embarrassed for college sports. But it's inevitable. It's going to eat itself. But the sport, football, ain't going anywhere. So we're not talking about college sports is going to go away. It's just going to separate. Football is going to be its own entity, and all of the other sports, basketball included possibly, will do its own thing. That's where I think we're headed. But all of this is embarrassing. And we'll talk more about this in a little bit, but I can't take anybody seriously in college sports when this is just business as usual. And that's just gross.